Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's start with the another service that is a storage. So first let's try to understand what is block storage, file storage and the object storages. So if you have already worked with the virtual machines, okay, so we're gonna attach something called a hard disk, right? So this is a type of a storage which you can attach to your host computers. So you can just think a block storage is basically divides the data into blocks and store them separately. So these blocks can be assembled to represent the complete file or application. So we have a host machine and the data within the host machine can be stored inside the a block storage. So for example, like your hard disk is a type of block storage where the data is managed in the chunks. So next we have the file storage. So file storage organizes the data in the hierarchical format. For example, like folders on your computer, right? So whenever you want to share some data across your team members, okay, we're going to create something called a file storage. So next, we have something called an object storage. So object storage is used for managing the data as objects, which can be accessed through REST APIs. So this method is ideal for the scalable and the cloud-based systems. Like for example, uploading or downloading the files on platforms like Google Drive or Amazon S3. All right. So these are the different types of storage we have inside the Azure. One is a block storage, file storage and the object storage. So now so inside the Azure storage, okay, so Azure provides a managed cloud storage solution that is highly available, durable and scalable, supporting the petabytes of data. So it has different core storage services like Azure Disk, Azure Files, Azure Blob, Azure queues and the Azure tables. So Azure Disk is similar to the block storage, right? So for the Azure virtual machines, and is ideal for the operating systems, application data, and the backups. So next we have the Azure Files. Here we have the file shares. Okay, so it provides a file shares accessible both on the cloud and the on-premises, and is useful for the team collaboration or the centralized file system. So next we have the Azure Blobs. Okay, so it is a object storage for the unstructured data like text or the binary files, and is frequently used for storing the data sets, media files, or the backups. So next we have the Azure queues. So it is used for decoupling the applications by queuing messages, right? And finally we have Azure tables. So it is a NoSQL storage option for storing structured or non-relational data. So whenever you're going with this option, so storage account is necessary. So for example, if you want to access the Azure files, Azure blobs, or Azure queues or Azure tables, you need to create a storage account. So now let's talk about the data redundancy. Okay, so Azure offers different levels of redundancy to ensure the data availability and the reliability. So first is the local redundant storage. So here whenever you're going with this option, so there are three copies of data are stored synchronously within the same data center, and it is cost in terms of cost is less expensive, and so you go with this option. So whenever there is a non-critical data with the minimal availability requirements. So next we have the zone redundant storage. So here also it stores the three copies synchronously across the multiple availability zones in the same region. Okay, so this is the three synchronous copy in the same data region. So here we have synchronous copies in the three availability zones in the primary region. The cost is moderate and it is used for whenever there is a high requirement of the availability. Okay, so next we have the geo redundant storage. So it combines the LRS, that is the low redundant storage, with the asynchronous replication to the secondary region. Okay, so here also we have the three additional copies. So in terms of cost, it is a higher cost and is suitable for the disaster recovery scenarios. So next we have the geo zone redundant storage. So it combines the SRS with the asynchronous replication to the secondary region, and is the most expensive but offers a high availability. Okay, so whenever you're looking for the high availability, so you can go with this option, and it is best for the mission critical applications requiring a maximum reliability. Okay, so this is all about the data redundancy provided by the Azure. Hello everyone, welcome back. So now let's explore the read access storage redundancy options. So we have something called geo redundant storage. So this options replicate the data to the secondary region, ensuring a backup exists in the case of primary region failure. So here also we have some limitations like you can only write data to the primary region, and data from the secondary region can be accessed only after the failure. Okay, so this is what the limitation whenever we're going with the geo redundant storage. So next is we have something called read access storage redundancy. What if you need to access your data from secondary storage without waiting for the failure, right? So under such scenarios, Azure provides a solution. So it's called read access storage redundancy. Okay, this is what it means. So next we have something called read access geo redundant storage and read access geo zone redundant storage. So for in the first option, so data is replicated to the secondary region, and both primary and secondary regions allow the read access. Okay, whenever go with this RAGRS. So next we have RAGZRS. So it combines zone redundancy in the primary region with the geo redundancy. Okay, and even it provides read access to the secondary region as well. Fine. So these are some of the example URLs. Whenever going with the primary, you have myaccount.blob.co.windows.net, and whenever you are accessing the secondary region, okay, so this is will be your URL. Okay, so some of the use cases in real time, you can just think of e-commerce platforms like Flipkart. Okay, so where it enables the read access redundancy, ensuring product catalog and the user data remain accessible during the failures. Okay, so even the education portals, like you can take any popular edtech companies. Okay, so they utilize this regions, okay, to ensure the global students can access the content without delay. Okay, so like Netflix, or it could be any type of content. So yes, so this is the some of the options, and it's all theoretical part. Okay, we'll be seeing the hands-on in the upcoming video. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's understand about the region pairs. So whenever you are looking for the high availability and high durability, okay, we have a concept of region pairs. So region pair is just a set of two Azure regions within the same geography that are linked together to provide high durability and availability. Okay, so the main purpose here is it ensures that the data is safely replicated and can be accessed even during the failures in the one of the region. So for example, so Central India, South India, right? So this could be one of the example. So East US and the West US, and North Europe and the West Europe can be a region pairs. So some of the important key features of the region pairs is data replication. So the copies of data are stored in both primary region and its paired region. For example, like Central India is paired with the South India for the redundancy. So next is high availability, right? Azure ensures that gives the high availability. Okay, whenever you're going with the region pairs. So next we have the region specific pairing. So it keeps the data within the same geography to meet the data residency and the compliance requirements. So even this is very important, right? So these are some of the important features of the region pairs. So now let's try to understand where we can find this. So if you just get into storage, okay, let me just go to the storage accounts. So inside the storage accounts, okay, so if you click on create storage, let me just click on create storage. And so here we have something called redundancy. Okay, can you see here redundancy option? Okay, so here we have low redundant storage, geo redundant storage, zone redundant storage, and geo zone redundant storage. So if you go with if you go with this geo redundant storage, okay, so if you're going with this option and set the primary region to East US, okay, so if we're setting to this, so then the three copies in the East US and the three copies in the West US will be copied. Okay, so the data will be copied in the three copies in the East US and the three copies in the West US. Okay, so here you can read and write the data from East US. So if the East US fails, so you can access from the West US. Okay, so this is how it works if you're going with the region pairs. Okay, and the real if you take real time examples, okay, like Flipkart or Amazon India can ensure their Central India data is always available through a South India. Okay, if there is some outrage occurs. Okay, so even you can take an example of education platforms also. Okay, if they want to share the content across a globe. Okay, so to avoid the downtime or any regional maintenance. Okay, so they can just go with this option, so that every time when the student is accessing their content can be so every time the content can be accessible, right? So this is where the concept of region pairs comes into picture. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's discuss about a premium storage accounts which is designed for the high performance. So generally we have two types of storage accounts. So one is the general standard general purpose storage accounts. So these accounts are recommended for most scenarios, and so whatever we have seen so far, okay, it's all comes under the standard general purpose storage accounts, and it is suitable for the application with regular performance requirements like basic data storage and relatable task. So next we have the premium storage account. So these accounts are optimized for the high performance workloads like solid state SSDs, right? So even we can call this as SSDs or solid state drives to deliver the low latency and high throughput, right? And the purpose here is it's ideal for the applications that demand fast read and write speeds such as real-time analytics, financial modeling, or high-speed transaction systems. So here also we have some important key features like first is it's high performance, okay? So it provides a faster data access compared to the standard storage, and it is suitable for the input output intensive workloads. So next, regarding the account types, okay, so here we have a premium premium block blobs, so which is used for the blob storage and the data lake storage, and it is suitable for the big data workloads or high speed streaming. So next we have the premium file shares. So it supports the server message block and NFS. It's called a network file system, and SMB stands for server message block. Okay, so these are the protocols. So next, and it is ideal for hosting the shared file system with the minimum latency. Okay, so you can, this is the premium storage account. So next we have the premium page blobs. It is frequently used for Azure virtual machine disk like operating system disk or data disk. Okay, and it is best for virtual machines requiring high speed storage. So here also we have some constraints like it offers redundancy. Okay, in terms of redundancy, it supports only the local redundant storage and the zone redundant storage. Okay, so this is only the constraint when we're going with the premium storage account. And so some of the real-time examples you can just consider with the e-commerce platform. Companies like Flipkart or Amazon India can use the premium storage to ensure the real-time inventory updates during sales, right? So this could be an example. Okay, so where you can just think of opting for the premium storage account. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's move on to the hands-on, okay, for the disk storage. So before getting into the block disk storage, let's try to understand what is a block storage. So block storage is similar to the hard disk attached to your computer, so where the data is divided into blocks and can be managed. So the key characteristics, it is one-to-one connection. So when I say one-to-one connection, a single block storage device is attached to the one virtual server. So however, you can connect the multiple different block storage devices to one virtual server as well. So now let's get into the Azure disk storage. So when I say Azure disk storage, so this Azure disk storage is primarily used for the Azure virtual machines to store the data. So it is characterized based on the performance needs and the cost efficiency, and you can see the different types here. Like we have standard HDD, standard SSD, okay, so premium SSD, and the ultra disk. So in the standard HDD, it is recommended for the backups, okay, non-critical infrequent access. For the standard SSD, so it is used whenever you're building an application and you want to host that for on the VM for the testing. Okay, can go with the standard SSD. That's for the dev and test environments. Okay, web servers, lightweight enterprise applications. Okay, so that's where you go with the standard SSD. So next we have the premium SSD device disk. So it's for the production, right, production environments and the performance sensitive workloads. So next we have the ultra disk. Okay, it is recommended for high input output intensive workloads like SAP HANA, SQL, databases, or other transaction heavy systems. Okay, so apart from that, okay, so we have something called managed and the unmanaged disk, which is very important. Okay, when I say a managed disk, right, so here under the managed disk, Azure automatically manages the storage. It ensures the high fault tolerance and the easy scalability. Okay, so the some of advantages going with the managed disk is that here no need to manage the storage account. Okay, so everything is done by the Azure itself, and it is a high fault tolerant because and it is a highly available. Okay, because when I say managed, here as a user you're not worrying about anything at the backend, so everything is done by the Azure itself. So next we have the unmanaged disk. Okay, so here the users are responsible for managing the storage accounts and the disk files. So here the some of the challenges is that you need to do all the manual management, right, and is a limited flexibility compared to the managed disk, and there is a fault tolerance as well. Okay, so if you if talk about the use cases, okay, so you can go with the managed disk whenever you're looking for the simplicity. I mean, like, so where just you need to start using the disk here, okay, so you're not worried about any other factors. If you, and even you need high availability as well as high fault tolerance, can go with the managed disk. And so generally, Azure even recommend that you should avoid the unmanaged disk, okay, unless it is necessary for some use cases. Okay, so now let's see the hands-on. Okay, so if I just get into my Microsoft Azure, so first let me just get into the virtual machines. Okay, so already we have created many virtual machines. So if you click on create virtual machine, so here we have an options to create a disk, right? So let me just give one name here. Okay, I'll just give here test, and inside the so here we have all the basic details like regarding the availability option. Even this plays a very important role. So based on whatever the availability zones you're gonna select, it will even affect the storage which you're going to select. Okay, so here we have all the basic configurations, and if you just go to the next section, that is disk. Okay, so that's where you're gonna implement everything. So here we have OS disk size. Okay, so default is 30 GB. You can just select the different sizes, and the next important type is the OS disk type. Okay, so if you click onto this, you can see we have premium SSD, standard SSD, okay, standard HDD, and this comes under the local redundant storage. Okay, so already we have seen that in the previous sessions as a slides, right? So next we have the zone redundant storage. So what is zone redundant storage? The data is replicated to three zones, but whenever you're going with the local redundant storage, so data is replicated within the single data center. So here we have a premium SSD, standard SSD. Okay, so based on your requirements, again you need to select those options. Okay, so I'm just going with the default one, that is the premium SSD. Fine. And apart from that, okay, so if you need a ultra disk, okay, so this is what the meaning of ultra disk. So Azure ultra disk delivers high throughput, high input output operations, and consistent low latency disk storage for Azure infrastructure as a service virtual machines. So you can just check that if whenever you're going with the ultra disk options. And if you go to the advanced section, okay, so this is where you will be configuring for the unmanaged disk. So right now, if you click on to, if you just check, this is right now it is disabled because we are going with the managed disk. Okay, can you see? So availability zone requires a managed disk because we have selected the availability zone. So if you go here, see in the availability options, we have selected this availability zone. But if you just go with some other options like no infrastructure redundancy required. So when you go with this option and go to the disk section, and if you go to the advanced, you can see, so right now I can just uncheck this. So as soon as you uncheck this, you started getting the warning. You can see that we recommend Azure disk managed. That is so it's Azure is asking you to go with the managed disk. Okay, so if you uncheck this, okay, so it means that you're going with the unmanaged. If you check this, it is a managed one. Okay, so let me just uncheck just to explore the options. And so there are a lot of complexity. Okay, again it's telling, okay, gen 2 VMs requires a managed disk. So whenever you're going with the unmanaged, okay, there are few settings which you need to change it. Okay, like based on the availability zones and even based on the configurations. Okay, VM configurations. So by default, if you click on configuration VM generations, right now it's generation 2. So whenever you're going with the unmanaged one, okay, so you need to go with this option, that is the generation 1. So this is the place. Okay, we need to just select the generation 1, and I'll make click on apply. So now I'll just go to the disk once again. So now you can see we don't have that error. Okay, advanced section, advanced availability, what I've selected, no infrastructure. Okay, so disk section, why it is disabled? Did I click on apply? I just click on configure. Okay, generation 1, apply. This is a generation 2 version of this image. Okay, click here to swap. Okay, I'm just swapping it. So it's telling that this is what the version, the image you need to select for the gen 1. Okay, now let me go to the disk. Okay, so now I'll just uncheck this. Okay, gen 2 VMs requires a managed disk. All right, update the VM generation settings in the basic tab. Already done it. Okay, gen 1. Okay, let's go with gen 1. All right, so it's updated. Let me go to disk. Gallery package requires managed disk. Where I've selected the gallery package, gallery. Standard. I'm in the generation one. That's fine. Sizes is also okay. So here it's telling. So I need to image default. Okay. So platform managed, gallery package. Okay, let's see this gallery package. Where from where I'm getting the gallery package. Okay, you need to use Gen 1 Ubuntu years and you can recheck the use manage disk. Okay. Anyway, okay, so I have updated that. Okay, let me just go to basics and this is Gen 1. I have used it. So let's see if I have any other options. This is also Gen 2, Gen 2, Gen 2. Okay, free eligible. This is what the service is. Standard security to keep trusted organization. Okay. I need to select the proper gen version or else it will not able to create it. Availability, I need to choose some different availability zone. Okay, disk. Basics, again it got selected this one, no infrastructure, disk, ignore. Now let me just uncheck this. Storage, okay. So here Gen 2 VMs requires a manage disk update VM generation settings. Okay, so I'm updating it. So why it's not reflecting here? So VM generation. I'll go with Gen 1, apply. Okay, so Gen 1 got applied. So disk. Okay, so I'm getting the same issue here. Use the Gen 1 Ubuntu OS. Okay, I'm using the Gen 1 Ubuntu OS itself. All right, so there are some issues. Okay, so anyways, we will not be using this much in the industry. So even it's not at all used. Okay, so even if we're going with unmanaged, okay, it's just a bad idea. Okay, so here we are getting an error like as a gallery package. Okay, so we need to look into proper image here. Okay, so we need to go with the very old generation as well as so we need to try with some different images. Then we'll be able to create it. All right, so this is how. Okay, once you're just selecting that, okay, so once you go with your disk and uncheck this, okay, so automatically you can just click on create. Okay, so that disk will be created inside your storage account. Okay, so this is how it basically works. So if you are facing any issues, let me know in the comment section. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video, we have seen Azure disk storage and even we have explored about the managed and the unmanaged disk. So now let's understand about the Azure files, right? So Azure files provide a managed file sharing solution that allows multiple users or system to access the files from the cloud or on premises. So this is ideal for the scenarios like media workflows, enterprise collaborations, and the file sharing across virtual machines. So some of the key features of Azure files are like it's a managed file share. All right. So Azure handles the backend infrastructure, ensuring scalability and reliability. So next, it provides the concurrent access. So whatever the data you're gonna upload inside the file share, so files can be accessed simultaneously by the multiple devices, right? So and some of the supported platforms is like cloud, so it can access any access files anywhere. Even you can access from the on premises, right? So even you can access those data from the operating system as well, like Windows, Linux, or any Mac operating system. So it supports various protocols like SMB, server message block, and the network file system. Okay, which is ideal for the Linux and the Unix systems. So now let's get into the storage account and let's create our first storage account. So you can just search for the storage accounts here. So let's create a new storage account. So to create a new storage account, click on plus create. So it will navigate to this page, okay, where you need to enter your resource groups. Let's create a new resource group. I'll just tell this as Euron storage and click on OK. So this is my new resource group, and I'll just name this storage name as Euron storage, Euron IMRAN storage. Okay, so this is my storage account name. Um, okay, I'll tell IAM. Okay, so it should contain only the uh, characters. Okay, so hyphens are not allowed. Okay, I'm just typed it Euron Imran storage. Fine. So region, I'll just go with the default one. So next is the service mode. So here we have the service mode. So whether we need to get into this Azure blob storage or the Azure files or other tables, I'll not select anything here, okay, because it's not mandatory. So first let me create a storage account. So next is performance. I'll go with the standard. Okay, so this is recommended for the most scenarios, right? And premium, it is recommended for scenarios that requires a low latency. Even we have discussed that in the previous slides. So redundancy, so we have a different redundancy types. Okay, let's go with the default one, that is geo. Click on next. I'll go with all these default options, and next review and create. Okay, let me click on create. All right, so it started with the initialization deployment, so it will take a few minutes. So I'll be back once this is done. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's understand the importance of Azure File Sync. So Azure File Sync is like a bridge between the on-premises and the cloud storage. So whenever you want to sync the files between the on-premises as well as the Azure files, you go with this Azure File Sync option. So we have the two major components. Okay, so when it comes to the file server, one is a Windows file server and we have the Azure files. So Windows file server is like a traditional way. So where we used to create file shares on premises, right? So if you are going with the on-premises, we have the Windows file share. And the benefit of going this is like it provides a seamless connectivity to local applications and the users. Okay, so next we have the Azure files, which you've already seen in the previous videos, right? So it's where we create a file share and that is stored inside the Azure cloud, right? And it is also easier to set up, and even you can just share that across your team members. So now so Azure file sync provides a flexibility that help you to sync the files both on premises as well as on the cloud. Okay, so that's where you go with this Azure file sync. So here some of the important features is that it provides a caching. So like frequently accessed files are cached locally on the Windows file server, and even you can choose to keep a complete local copy of all your files whenever it is required. And so even it provides various protocol support like SMB, FTPS, and even the NFS, right? So these are the various features of the Azure file sync. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video, we have already seen the hands-on for the blob storage. So Azure Blob Storage is an object storage solution which is designed for the storing the massive volumes of the unstructured data. So whenever you want to create a Azure Blob Storage, you'll create a storage account first, then you create a container, and inside the whatever the object you're gonna store, we call that as a blob. Okay, so it supports all file types. It could be text files, binary data, medium files, application logs, okay, archives, backups. Okay, you can take some of the examples like media files. Okay, so where you can just store all your videos, like education platform. Okay, so all the videos has been stored somewhere inside the blob, and they can just share that across the platforms. Application logs, okay, backups. Okay, these are some of the examples of file types. So there are different types of blob. Okay, so one is called a block blob. So it is used to store the text or the binary files. Okay, like videos, images, archives. Fine. So next we have something called append blob. So this is like optimized for the log files and the append operations. So if you have a list of logs, okay, that is keep on appending it. Okay, then go with the append blobs. So next we have the page blobs. It is used for read and write operations. Like it is also a foundation for the Azure IaaS desk. Okay, that is infrastructure as a management desk. So it is used for storing OS or the data disk for the virtual machines. Okay, you'll go with this page blobs. So next we have something called Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this is the enhanced version of Azure Blob Storage. So if you want to have the enhanced version of the Blob Storage, so this is what the option is. There is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, and it is used for the big data analytics. Okay, so it supports exabytes of data. Even you can just organize the files hierarchically for the efficient big data operations. Even it is used across the various industries. So all right. So now let's see some of the tiers. Okay. Popular access tiers. Okay. So one is the hot, cool, cold, and archive. So you're gonna use this based on the requirement and whatever the data based on the access pattern generally. Okay. So how you're using that particular data, how frequently, so whether you're using the data daily or weekly or just once in a year, right? So based on that, you can just go with these options. Okay. Host, you'll go with hot whenever you want to store the data frequently. That is the data you are accessing the frequently. So you can go with the cool, that is infrequent access data that is stored for the 30 minutes, 30 days. Cold, infrequently access data stored for the minimum 90 days. So even we have the archive version. So next, finally, we have yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, so whatever we have discussed. So next we have the Azure queues and the tables. Okay, so this also is accessed when after creating the storage account. So it is Azure queues is used for the decoupling applications like messaging. And Azure tables for basic NoSQL storage options. Okay, you can go with this Azure tables. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's explore about the Azure Storage Explorer. So this is a tool for managing the Azure storage. So if you want to download this, okay, you can just go to here, you can just type here Azure Storage Explorer download. Okay, so from here you can just download it, and it's a free desktop tool, okay, to manage the Azure storage resources from your local computer. So it supports Windows, Mac OS, and Linux platforms. So here also it provides various key features like integrations, right? So you can work with the Azure blobs, files, and the queues. So even you can do the file management. Okay, it allows you to upload, download, and manage files. So you can do a lot many things. Okay, just like a tool which you need to install. So if you want to install, you can just click on download, and automatically the download process will start. And even you can just access that here from the Microsoft Azure also. So if I just type here storage explorer, uh, storage explorer, okay, storage browser, yeah, storage, uh, should get it here, let's see. Azure Data Explorer cluster. Tables, queues, yeah, almost it looks similar. Okay, so this is storage browser. Okay, now they have just updated. Okay, generally earlier it was used to call a storage explorer. So whatever you're seeing here, right? So like recently viewed or file shares or blob containers. Okay, so everything can just the same interface. Okay, can just see once you download this Azure storage explorer. So yes, this is all about Azure Storage Explorer. So in case if you want to have the tool, that is, if you're just frequently working with the Azure, and or you have frequent upload, delete, or whatever the file management you're doing with the Azure Storage account, you can just download that into your local machine, and you can just use all the files even in your local machine. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's talk about the names which you give inside the Azure for the services, right? And whatever the names you're gonna give within the Azure, so that has to be globally unique names. So some of the services like storage accounts, databases, app services, okay, so all them have to be a unique. So which basically identifies the unique service across the Azure global infrastructure. So this is how it looks, okay, when you create unique name for your storage account, like for example blob storage. So this is how the links look. Okay, so https account name dot blog dot co dot windows dot net. And if you're going with the data lake options, okay, so only the account name keeps differing. Okay, so whether it could be data lake storage or for the Azure files, right? So yes, so this is very important because whenever you are creating the names, okay, so for the services, so it has to be a globally unique. So already we have seen that, right? So if you're creating a storage account name, so that has to be globally unique. Not only with the storage, so even if you're going with Azure SQL databases server or Cosmo DB or any Azure applications, okay, so all those things has to be globally unique names. Hello everyone, welcome back. So now let's discuss the scenario questions for the Azure storage services. So if you have a scenario where you need a persistent storage for the virtual machine disk, so you need to go with the Azure disk. So next, when you need to synchronize on-premises file shares with Azure, maintaining accessibility for on-premises and the applications. So this is a scenario whenever you want to share some data across the team members, okay, in large numbers, you can go with the Azure file sync. So next, if you need to store and analyze the large scale data for the big data analytics, okay, you'll go with the data lake storage. So next, if you need high performance storage with a low latency and high throughput, so you'll go with the premium storage account. So next, so if you need to store the data that is very rarely accessed but must be retained for the long period, so you want to keep the cost low as well, so you can go with the archive storage. So there we have a different storage solutions, okay, so based on the requirements, okay, even we can have the lifecycle management as well, okay, so where we can just store the data based on the some specific purpose. So this is the archive storage. So next, can you change the access tier for of an object at any time? Yes, we can change the access tiers of object at any point of time. Okay, so next, is it possible to create a multiple storage accounts with the same name in the different storage resource group? No. So this is very important. So you cannot create a storage names that are with the same name because it's a globally unique in Azure. So these are some of the important scenario questions which may come in the exams whenever you're going for the certifications.